Salvete omnes, this is Gai Iuli Caesaris, Commentarii de Bello Gallico Liber Primus, chapter 12. And Caesar writes, Flumen est arar, quod per fines haeduorum et sequanorum in Rhodanum influit, incredibili lenitate, ita ut oculis in utram partem fluat, judicare non possit. So flumen, a river, flumen, fluminus neuter, a river est, arar, this is the name of the river. So the river is the Arar. There is the Arar river. The Arar river is a thing. The Arar is a river. We'll refine our translation as we continue. Quod, relative pronoun, introducing a relative clause, its antecedent, flumen. They must agree in gender and number, not necessarily in case. Flumen, nominative or accusative. It can't be accusative because we have this est here, so it must be nominative, singular, neuter. Quod must be singular and neuter. It can be nominative or accusative because it's neuter. So influit, quod is the subject of influit. This is the river. The river flows into the Rhone. So we have quod. This is going to be the nominative, singular, neuter. Per takes the accusative, fines, haeduorum genitive, et sequanorum genitive, through the territory of the Aedui and the Sequani. In, Rhodanum, in plus the accusative motion, and here we repeat the in on the verb, it flows into. So there is the Arar river, which flows through the territory of the Aedui and the Sequani into the Rhone. Incredibili lenitate, incredibili. So this is the ablative, could be the dative, but it's going to be ablative to go with this ablative singular feminine lenitate, from lenitas, lenitatis feminine, sluggishness, slowness. So incredibili, it is in, credo credere, unbelieve ibilus, which is obolus, able. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Adjective agreeing with slowness, sluggishness. So this is an ablative of description, describing this flumen, this river. The river is with unbelievable sluggishness, unbelievable slowness. Ita, so much so, thus, it is so unbelievably slow, with unbelievable sluggishness, so much so, that. This adverbial ita, it's modifying this adjective incredibili. So how unbelievably slow was it? Well, the result was ut non possit. Ut non possit. Remember that a result clause, a negative is ut non, not ne. The positive is just ut. And there's usually like a tam, an ita, a sic, a tantus, a something in there to kick us into this clause. So the Arar river, which flows through the territory of the Aedui and the Sequani into the Rhone, was of such unbelievable sluggishness. How unbelievably sluggish was it? With the result that, oculis, oculus e masculine, an eye, ocular implants in your eyes. Dative or ablative, it's going to be ablative of means, by means of eyes, with the eyes. We're going to modify our translation coming up. In plus the accusative utram, which agrees with the accusative partem. We have pars, partis, feminine. And we have uter, utra, utrum. So uter refers to, there are two things. We can say there are either things, or we can, here we're asking which thing, which of two. Because pars partis means part or even direction. A river fluat, it flows into, there are two possible directions a river can flow, ordinarily. You can go upstream or downstream. And we're asking, in utram partem fluat, into which part, into which direction does the river flow? Well, judicare non possit. We actually have two dependent subjunctive clauses here. The ita is part of the main clause. That kicks us into this result clause introduced by ut. So ut non possit. It is so unbelievably sluggish, with the result that it is not able, it is not possible. You could even say it is impossible to be judged, judicare, to be judged, present passive infinitive, to be judged, oculis, by means of the eyes, with the eyes. We have this expression in English, with the naked eye. We could even say that. With the naked eye, in utram partem fluat, into, accusative motion, into which direction fluat it flows. This right here is an indirect question. The direct question would be, in utram partem fluit, into which direction does it flow? Into which direction does the river flow? We are recasting that question inside of a larger sentence or clause here, inside this result clause. We're saying that it is impossible to be judged into which direction it flows. We are in primary sequence because we have the main verb est. Therefore, we have present subjunctive and present subjunctive in the dependent subjunctive clauses to show contemporaneous actions. The river is still there at the time of Caesar's writing. You are still not able to judge into which direction the river flows with the naked eye. So these are present tense. Id helvetii ratibus ac lintribus junctis transibant. Id is basically it. Change the D to a T. So nominative or accusative singular neuter. Helvetii, well, helvetii is probably going to be nominative plural, so that takes id out of the running for the subject and the nominative. Id is probably going to be the accusative. I'm going to imagine it refers to the river, the thing that we were just talking about in the singular neuter. So it, this thing, the river, the subject Helvetii, the Helvetians, ratibus ac lintribus junctis transibant. So third person plural, imperfect of transeo, transire, transivi, transitus. So to be in transit, that is to transeo, to go across. They were crossing. The Helvetians were crossing it, meaning the river. You could even say this river, because id refers to the one that we just mentioned. The Helvetians were crossing this river. How? By what means? With what objects or instruments? Ratibus ac lintribus, and they are junctis. A noun ratibus, ablative rafts, ac lintribus, ablative skiffs, by means of rafts and skiffs that are junctis, that are joined together. Perfect passive participle, ablative plural, masculine, agreeing with ratibus and lintribus, not just rafts, but also and even, I do declare, ac lintribus, skiffs, little boats, rafts and little boats, rafts and canoes. The Helvetians were crossing this river with rafts and little boats, rafts and skiffs. So imperfect tense, they were in the process of doing this. Imperfect tense. Ubi per exploratores Caesar certior factus est, tres iam partes copiarum Helvetios id flumen traduxisse. Quartam vero partem, citra flumen ararem reliquam esse. De tertia vigilia, cum legionibus tribus, ecas ris profectus, ad eam partem pervenit, quae nondum flumen transierat. Ragi. Ubi, this is ubi, where or when in space or time. Per, plus the accusative, through exploratores. An explorator is a scout, so someone you send ahead to scout, to explore, reconnaissance. So through scouts, you can even say spies, but really it's scouts. When, through spies, through the agency of spies, by means of spies. Caesar, nominative singular masculine, he's your subject. Certior factus est. We have this idiom. Certior fio fieri means to be made more certain or to be informed. That's the passive flavor. The active voice flavor, that would be certiorem facere. That means to make, facere, to actively make someone in the accusative, certiorem, more certain. So that would be a predicate accusative, certiorem. You're going to make someone more certain. So Caesar's the subject here, so he's passive. Or I'm sorry, the verb is passive. So Caesar was informed. Caesar was made more certain. So when Caesar was informed through scouts that this is what he was informed, what's coming up, it's a noun clause, and it's a noun clause because it's answering the question, what? What was Caesar informed? What thing did they tell him? They told him that. They told him a noun, a thing, but it's a clause. This whole big thing acts like one big noun. Indirect statement. Tres iam partes copiarum Helvetios id flumen traduxisse. So we're looking for an accusative subject and a verb that's in an infinitive. So tres iam partes, that three, that could be accusative. Iam, adverb, now or already, could even mean soon. It means now from the point of view of whatever tense the main verb is. Partes, so that's going to be nominative or accusative. We've already seen parts partes before. So three parts already 3 parts copiarum, of the forces, of their forces, copiarum. 3 parts out of, genitive, partitive genitive, 3 parts out of their forces, out of their whole body of troops, out of their whole body of people. Helvetios. Now, either the 3 parts of the forces did the verb to the Helvetians, or the Helvetians did the verb to 3 parts of their forces. I'm going to imagine it's the Helvetios is the accusative subject. So 3 parts of their forces, the Helvetians, id flumen traduxisse. Traduco normally takes 2 accusatives. An accusative of what you lead across, and the other accusative is the thing that you're crossing. So we're crossing id flumen, that river, the Arar, the one that we were just mentioning and talking about. So the Helvetios are the subject, traduxisse with the adverb iam, they had already. So Caesar was informed in the past that the Helvetians had already done this. This is a perfect infinitive because it shows a prior action to the main verb. When Caesar was informed about this thing, the Helvetians, perfect prior, had already led 3 parts of their forces across id flumen, that river, meaning the Arar River. So when Caesar was informed through scouts that the Helvetians had already led 3 parts of their forces across that river, that is the Arar, quartam. Now we are going to compare and contrast and emphasize that comparison between the tres partes, which have already crossed, and the quartam partem, and we emphasize that comparison with vero. Vero is a souped up sed, S-E-D, but, 1 T, but, and it's so souped up it's post-positive, meaning that it comes not first, but post-second, after the first word or phrase. And the first word or phrase is the important operative emphatic word. So we had the tres iam partes. Notice also we interrupted the tres and the partes with the adverb here. Quartam vero partem. Tres iam partes. Quartam vero partem. So they've already, shucks, yam. They've already led 3 parts of their forces across the river. But vero, the 4th part, quitra flumen ararem reliquam esse. But the 4th part, reliquam esse, had been relinquo, relinquere, reliquir, relictus, had been left behind. Reliquam esse, had been left behind, was left behind. The quitra flumen ararem, on the Kitra, that's on our side, on the nearer side of the Arar River. Notice the slightly irregular declension of the arar. Notice it's ararim, I am, instead of ararem, em. So the accusative of arar is ararem, agreeing with Flumen. But the fourth part was left on the nearer side of the Arar River. So, when Caesar was informed of that, the indirect statement is now over. That's what the scouts informed Caesar. Caesar was informed that the three parts had already crossed, but the fourth part was still left on our side of the river. De tertia vigilia cum legionibus ribus. So, day with numbers here means approximately, thereabouts. So about the tertia vigilia, about the third watch. Day takes the ablative. That's tertia with a macron and vigilia with a macron over the final A's. So around the third watch, the Roman day was divided into 12 equal hours, no matter what time of year. So in the summer, the Roman hour was more than 60 minutes, and in the winter, the Roman hour was less than 60 minutes because there's more daylight in the summer and less daylight in the winter. Now, the nighttime was divided into 4 equal vigiliae, 4 equal watches. So this is the tertia vigilia. This is somewhere around 3 a.m., like between midnight and 3 a.m. So it's somewhere a little bit after the witching hour into 3 a.m. That's when the party starts. So around the third watch, around 2, 3 a.m., cum legionibus ribus, with 3 legions in the company of, ablative of accompaniment, 3 legions, so he took 3 of the 5 legions with him, e casris, out of the ablative of separation camp, profectus, he proficiscor proficisci profectus sum. Deponent verb. This is the perfect passive participle, but because it's deponent, you will translate that passive participle as active, a perfect active participle. It's nominative singular masculine us, agreeing with Yaboy, Kaisar. So, having set out from camp with 3 legions around the third watch, ad eam partem pervenit, he arrived, which takes ad or in plus the accusative, at that part, eam partem, which part? Quae, the quae picks us up to tell us which part, that part quae, which nondum flumen transierat, that part which, the antecedent of quae is eam partem, mostly partem, the noun. They must agree singular feminine in gender and number, but not necessarily in case. Partem is accusative with ad, motion towards. Quae is the nominative subject. That part which nondum, not yet, non and dum, not yet, had transierat, had pluperfect crossed the river. So when Caesar was informed through scouts that the Helvetians had already led 3 parts of their forces across that river, but the 4th part was left on our side of the river, he set out around the third watch with 5 legions from camp, and he arrived at that part which had not yet crossed the river. I'm sure he's just going to have a friendly conversation with them, ask them what they're doing. Eos impeditos et inopinantes ad gressus magnam partem eorum concidit. Reliqui se fugae mandarunt, atque in proximas silvas abdiderunt. Eos, accusative, plural masculine of is, ea, id, them, those guys. Impeditos, accusative, plural masculine again, impeditos. The 4th principal part of impedio, impedire, impedivi, impeditus mean to hinder. So they are hindered, having been hindered. They are encumbered. Their arms are full of stuff. We're talking about the Helvetians here in the accusative. So imagine them, the Helvetians, they're trying to cross the river. Their arms are full of stuff. Wagons have broken along the way. They're trying to drag wagons. They're carrying kids. They're trying to pull pack animals. They're impeditos. They're encumbered et inopinantes. Inopinantes. They're unaware. Agressus. Agressus. Nominative singular masculine. Ab aggredior aggredi aggressus sum. It means to rise up to, approach, or to attack. To attack, and here it means attack. It's a deponent verb, so perfect passive participle translated as a perfect active participle. Having attacked the accusative direct object, eos, having attacked them, encumbered and unaware, this is accusative plural masculine agreeing with eos as well as impeditos. Magnum partem eorum, a great part, accusative direct object, a great part eorum, of them, out of them, concidit. It's not just he slew, he killed. That would just be cado, cadere, cecidi casus. So to fell. It's conquido. It's not just cado or kaido, to fell, to cut down, to slay, but it's meaning something like he butchered them, he hacked them to pieces, he slaughtered them. Having attacked them, encumbered and unaware, he slaughtered a great part of them. He butchered a great part of them. I'm not quite sure what's stronger than just outright he slew them, but something like he butchered them, he massacred them, he slaughtered them. There was no hope. This verb indicates that it was a bloodbath. Reliqui se fugae mandarunt. So reliqui, nominative plural masculine, we have now changed subjects. This refers to the rest, the remaining, the remainder, meaning the ones that weren't butchered, slaughtered, cut down. Their blood is within them still, and Caesar's not bathing in it. So the remaining, the rest, we could say the survivors. Se, not just say, but se, the emphatic, accusative, refers back to the subject, reliqui. Fugae is dative, going with mando mandare. This means that they ordered themselves to flight, or they put themselves to flight. They ran away. So the remaining ordered themselves to flee, to flight, and in proxima silvas abdiderunt, and they hid, third person plural, perfect, active, indicative, they hid in the nearest forests. They hid away in the nearest forests. So they ran off into the forest to hide from Caesar. He even admits that he butchered or slaughtered them. There were probably women and children also, while they were hindered and unawares. They did not know that he was about to show up, and they were not ready for a fight. They did not exactly have weapons in hand when Caesar met them. Just cut down a great part of them, basically a fourth of their civilization. Is pagos appellabatur tigorinos. This pagos, now a pagos, that's a canton or a district. So modern day Switzerland, they still work with cantons, with pagos. So these are districts. Actually, modern day Switzerland, it's a federation of 26 cantons. The city of Bern acts as the de facto capital of Switzerland. So in Caesar's time, there were quatuor, 4 of these. Today there are 26. Cantons do exist elsewhere in the world, for instance, Puerto Rico, but the concept is apparently Swiss in origin. But the word canton itself is canton, is French. It's French for corner. It's an administrative division. So treat it like you can say division, you can say canton, a canton, or you can say a county. Or you can just translate pagos as a part. I'm going to use the word a canton. This canton, which one? The one that we just talked about, the fourth part, the fourth canton, the quatuor pagos, or the quarta pagos. or the Quartus Pagus. Appellabator Tigurinos was named the Tigurinos, the Tigurine, the Tigers. So this canton was called the Tigurine. Nam indicates it's an explanatory conjunction for, F-O-R, so Caesar is going to explain something. For omnis civitas Helvetia, for the omnis civitas, the whole state, the entire state, all the state of Helvetia, in quatuor pagos divisa est, is divided into quatuor pagos, into 4 cantons. Back then it was 4 cantons, today it is 26 cantons. So this canton was called the Tigurine, for the whole state of Helvetia is divided into 4 cantons. Hic pagus unus, this one canton, cum domo existet, cum plus the ablative domo, arigato, from domus us feminine, so we are going from home. Remember, domus does not take a preposition, so no ab, de, or ax in front of domo, we just have the ablative. When from home existet, it, meaning the pagus, had left, had exeo, exire, exivi, exitus. When this one canton had left from home, patrem nostrorum memoria Lucium Cassium consulem interfecerat, oh, we know that name, et eos exercitum sub jugum miserat. Uh-oh. Patrem nostrorum memoria. Patrum is genitive plural, as well as nostrorum, genitive plural masculine. Memoria, this should have a macron over it, ablative singular feminine, in the memory. In the memory, genitive, of our fathers. In our fathers' time, in the memory of our fathers. Lucium Cassium consulem, the accusative singular masculine direct object of the verb interfecerat, the subject being the pagus. So this one pagus, when this one canton left from home, it interfecerat, it had killed, it had cut down, it had slain Lucius Cassius the consul, and it did this in the memory of our fathers. So when this one canton, when this singular canton left home in the memory of our fathers, it had slain Lucius Cassius the consul, et eos exercitum sub jugum miserat, and it had sent his army, the army of him, eos being genitive, referring back to Lucium Cassium, sub jugum, and had sent his army under the yoke. Oh, how humiliating. Ita sive cassu, sive consilio deorum immortalium, quae pars civitatis Helvetiae, insignem calamitatem populo Romano intulerat, ea princeps poenam persolvit. My, quite proud of ourselves, aren't we? Ita, thus, in such a way, thusly, so, si way, it's si and way, with way being an alternate form of well, being an enclitic, like well. It's either or, either or. Thus, either by casu, a casus us masculine, disaster, downfall, like a blind stroke of luck. Sive, or concilio deorum immortalium. So casu, with the sive in front of it, is compared with concilio, also with a correlative sive in front of it. Either by disaster, either by downfall. I would say, translate this as either by dumb luck. Thus, either by dumb luck or by a concilio, by a plan. So something that is planned out, as opposed to something that casu, it just sort of happens. Thus, either by luck or by the plan of the immortalium, the undeath gods, the deathless gods, the immortal gods. Thus, it was either by the dumb luck, or by the plan of the immortal gods, quae pars civitatis Helvetiae, Which part? Which part? Civitatis, genitive. Quae pars is nominative. Civitatis is genitive. Helvetii is genitive. Which part of the state of Helvetia, of the Helvetian state? Insignem calamitatem. Insignem accusative agreeing with calamitatem. Both are feminine, both are singular. Not just a calamitate, calamitas, calamitatis, feminine, a calamity, a downfall, a ruin, but a marked, a special, a significant disaster, a significant downfall, a significant ruin, a marked ruin. Populo Romano intulerat. So we have inferro, inferre, intuli illatus. So they had borne, or the subject is the quae pars. Which part of the Helvetian state had intulerat, had borne, or had brought, had inflicted the accusative, a marked calamity upon the dative. So inferro, it's when you inflict an accusative upon a dative. Inferro, you inflict an accusative upon a dative. So this part of the Helvetian state had inflicted a significant disaster upon the Roman people. Which part of the Helvetian state? Oh, that one, ea. That was the one which quae was the princeps, the first to poenam persolvit. Persolvo with poenam means to pay the penalty. You have to pay something out. So pay the penalty, pay the price. Thus, either by sheer dumb luck or by the plan of the immortal gods, did that part of the Helvetian state that brought a significant calamity upon the Roman people was first to pay the penalty. He's extremely proud of himself. Qua in re Caesar non solum publicas, sed etiam privatas injurias ultus est, quod eius socerri Luci Pisonis avum, Lucium Pisonem legatum, Tigarini eodem proilio, quo Cassium interfecerant. So, qua in re. We should read this as in qua re. In which regard, or in which thing, or in which matter, concerning which matter. Caesar, nominative singular masculine, subject. Non solum. Hey guys, if you got a non solum, I bet you're going to find a sed etiam, or even a verum etiam. Here we have sed etiam. Non solum, sed etiam. And we are emphasizing the publicas. Non solum publicas, sed etiam privatas. And both modify the noun injurias. So Caesar, not only public, but even private injurias, wrongdoings, injuries, ultus est, ultus est. So we have ultus est, the temple of Mars Ultor, built by the Emperor Augustus following the death of, well, he was Octavian back then, or it was eventually built by Augustus after he defeated Brutus and Cassius, because he had Ultor avenged his father, Julius Caesar. So Brutus and Cassius, who had killed Julius Caesar, when Octavian defeated them, with the help of Antony, of course, he set up the temple of Mars Ultor, Mars the Avenger. So ultus est means to avenge, to get revenge. So in regards to which, concerning which thing, Caesar not only avenged publicas injurias, public wrongdoings, but also private ones. Not only public, but even private wrongdoings. Meaning that he will go on to explain with the quote, the causal clause, that he not only he killed this Tigrine canton, which means that they were the ones who killed Lucius Cassius. So now Caesar has gotten vengeance. Caesar has gotten vengeance for the Roman state for public wrongdoings, meaning that the Helvetians had killed Lucius Cassius, the Roman consul. So the Roman public, as a people, as the Republic, would be upset about that and would be happy to hear that Caesar has revenged. He has avenged this slaying by the Tigraine faction of the Helvetians. But the private wrongdoings, what are these private wrongs? So, of course, yeah, the Romans are upset that their consul was killed and their army was sent under the yoke. But what private things does Caesar have involved in killing the Tigraine? Quod, because eosoceri luci pisonis avon. Quod, because eos, genitive, soceri, a socer, this is a father-in-law, Luci pisonis, that's the genitive, avum is the accusative singular masculine, this is a grandfather, and avum is a grandfather. So we give his name then, Lucium Pisonem, also Lucius Piso, and his rank was legatum, lieutenant. So we have genitive, accusative, referring to accusative Lucium Pisonem, and his rank accusative legatum. The subject here are the Tigarini. Because the Tigarines, the Tigarini, eodem proilio in idem eadem idem, in the same proilium e neuter, in the same battle, quo, in which interfecerat Cassium, in which they had killed Cassius, the consul, they had interfecerat, they had killed Alwyn, the grandfather of Caesar, his father-in-law, Lucius Piso. That grandfather's name was also Lucius Piso, and he was the rank of lieutenant when the Tigarines had him killed. So in regards to this, Caesar avenged not only public but even private injustices, private wrongs, private injuries, because the Tigarines had killed the grandfather of his father-in-law, Lucius Piso, also Lucius Piso, the lieutenant, in the same battle in which they had slain Cassius. So Caesar avenged not only public but even private wrongs, injuries, slights, injustices, insults. Because the Tigarines had killed the grandfather of his father-in-law Lucius Piso, that is, Lucius Piso, the lieutenant, in the same battle in which they had killed Cassius. So Caesar has not only gotten vengeance for the Romans for killing of the consul Lucius Cassius, but Caesar himself feels pride that he has gotten vengeance for his father-in-law's grandfather? Yes, I'm sure that was very important. Top of Caesar's list to do. Must get vengeance for my father-in-law's grandfather. Absolutely. I'm sure that's exactly what my father-in-law said as I was on my way off to Gaul. Make sure that if you ever meet someone of the Tigarine canton, that you get vengeance for what they did to my grandfather. Who knows? Maybe he did. All right, so that is the end of chapter 12.